So we're going to be doing a winterization on your RV. One of the important things that you'll need to use on the RV is your water pump. And we're going to show you a fairly easy way to locate your water pump, and that is by walking around the outside of the RV and locate your potable water or freshwater tank fill point. So we found it here on this unit. Now, generally speaking, the water pump is usually pretty close by inside the RV. So we'll walk inside and we'll just see where exactly it is on this particular one. So just outside the wall there, we had the fill point for your fresh water, and we've already taken off the two Red Robertson screws that hold this divider up. So we'll slide it out of the way, and you can see just inside the wall from where the fill point was for your freshwater tank, we have your water pump. So that's one of the first things you'll want to do, is locate it and gain access to it by removing any dividers that may be in the way. And now that we're here to talk about your water pump, the most important thing to note while you're in here and looking at it is this valve here. You can see at the moment that the valve is in line with this tube. This is actually your fill tube for winterizing the RV. So at the moment, this pump is in the proper location. If you've ever used your water pump to draw water from the freshwater tank, however, it will probably be aligned like this, and that would be in line with the plumbing that's going to draw water from your freshwater tank. So for our purposes for winterizing, we're going to turn it back to this position, and that's how you'll want your valve to be when you're winterizing your RV. Other than finding your water pump, one of the first things you want to do is get a good quality antifreeze. We prefer to use ones that are salt-free, non-toxic, and good for the environment. It's a little bit hard to say exactly how much of this you will use. On a larger RV, you're looking at maybe 4, 5, a smaller one 2. Currently we're in a 32 foot, and we're probably going to use between 3 and 4 of these jugs. Now we need to find your hot water tank. We've found this. We've taken the cover off already. Again, 2 Red Robertson screws. That seems to be the bulk of what they use. And the reason why we need to find this is to locate these 2 valves. Same kind of valve as we saw on your water pump. At the moment, you can see that this valve is in line with this plumbing here, as well as this one. What that is going to do is bypass your hot water tank and flow the water or antifreeze past it, so it's bypassing it. If you wanted to run water in and out of the tank, the valve positions would be like this. And this is the way you would have it whenever you're using your RV throughout the summer. For winterizing, we do not need to fill your hot water tank full of antifreeze, waste of antifreeze. There's a drain plug and a relief valve on the outside, and we'll show you that. We've shown you the inside access point for the water heater. Now we'll take a look at the outside. There's not a lot you need to concern yourself with here. The main focus will be the drain and drain plug and your pressure relief valve. So before we put any antifreeze to the RV, we're going to drain the majority of the water, and we're going to do most of that from the outside here, or all of it. To start with, we will take the cap off, but before I do that, I would always recommend that you open the pressure relief valve. Now, I will warn you, this unit does not have water in it. If you do have water in yours, when you open this, it will come out of this, this pressure relief valve. That's okay, but you might get a little bit wet if you're not prepared. So now that that's open, you will need to take, or the easiest way to take this, in this case the cap off, is via a socket set And this particular cap is 1 inch and a 1/16 size. So in order to remove, turn the cap, get it most of the way loose. Again, always make sure the pressure relief valve is open. We'll take the cap off by hand and get ready to move out of the way, because the water will come shooting out at you. So once this water all drains, you've already got the bypass on inside. We're almost ready to go and start putting antifreeze through the system. Now let's go take a look at some of the low point drains on the outside of the RV. We're going to take a little walk around the outside of the RV just to show you some of the things that you're going to be looking at or looking for. You want to watch out for the stickers on the side. Most RVs will indicate where low point drains are located, and that's going to be the best way to make sure that we've got everything drained and ready to go. So you see, we haven't come across anything yet until we come to here. And you'll see low point drain, low point drain. And if we drop down underneath here, you'll see these two low point drains. These are the main low points or main drains for your cold and hot water for the entire RV. Right now these are open. If I were to hook this up to the water pump and the antifreeze jug, it wouldn't hurt anything, but all of the antifreeze is just going to pour out onto the ground right now. So we want to make sure that these are closed. These low point drains here are to drain your freshwater tank. It's not 100% important necessarily that they're fully drained before you winterize, but some people always like to make sure, so you just simply turn that. And on this particular one, you actually have a second low point for your freshwater tank, so you just make sure that you open both of them to fully drain the tank. So now we're getting pretty close to actually putting some antifreeze in, and we're going to show you in this unit where you find the water pump. And almost every one, the water pump will be located in this block with the indication panel showing you your battery levels and your freshwater tank levels and so on. You can see right here we have the switching for your water pump. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. You can hear it starting to run. So I'm going to go ahead, put that in to the jug, and you should hear the water pump stop making noise, or not hear the water pump, I guess would be more correct, once it pressurizes. This particular unit's going to take a little bit longer to pressurize as the lines are totally empty. There's no water in it. There. So now it's finally pressurized. This particular one, in order to fill all the lines in the system, again a 32-foot trailer, you can see that it's taken about half a jug. So normally, if you've had water in the system already, it won't take that long to pressurize. So now that we've got the jug in there, we're ready to go. Now you come around to all the taps that you have. You're going to get some water. You make sure it's pink. That's all you need. Hot and cold. Wait for it to be pink. And that's all you need to do. Again, when there's water in the system, you're going to see a lot of water come out first. Not as much if you open up all the low point drains, but you'll see some water come out first. All you want to see is that it's pink. You want to see the pink come out from the antifreeze. You'll smell it, and that will just indicate that there's no water left in the drains and you're good to go. Next, we're going to make sure we do, again, all your sinks and taps, pink, pink. You have to do your toilet as well, just enough. You can see it's pink, fills the bowl. So now we're going to do the shower. We want to make sure you do both just the faucet itself and the supply to the shower head as well. So we'll run, wait for it to be pink. Pink, good. We'll grab the wand and you can see they actually forgot to do that from the factory, and there was a little bit of water in there. And that's all you need to do to winterize your RV. We've covered so far all the taps inside this unit. The only thing we have left to do is the outside. So we've ran the water in the inside of the RV. What you want to do is make sure that you don't have any running water outside. That can include, but is not limited to, an outdoor kitchen, an outdoor shower, and any spray ports or anything like that. So this unit has an outdoor shower and an outdoor kitchen, so we're going to show you those. Same as the inside. You just want it to be pink. It's ran pink. And now we're good to move on to the outdoor shower. So to complete the outside winterization, we've hit up the outdoor kitchen, and the last thing on this particular unit is the outdoor shower. So same as the inside, we're still hooked up to our antifreeze jug via the water pump inside. You simply want to turn the tap on and wait for it to turn pink. And now your outdoor shower is fully protected from the winter. So one of the last things that we have to do when we're winterizing involves your city water connection. So I've already kind of loosened this up just with a little key. You can take like a little screwdriver, and very gentle. You don't want to bust the screen, but you can just pry it out, remove that, and there's this little check valve in here. Now before I go and press that, right now we are fully pressurized. You do not want to press this check valve while it's pressurized. First of all, it will shoot it'll shoot the antifreeze out at you, but it can also break the check valve. So you do not wish to have that happen. Once you've got this removed, we're going to go inside, turn off the water pump, quickly run one of the taps just to relieve a little bit of the pressure, and then we're going to come back out here, and when we press this, it shouldn't shoot out as hard, but you'll still see, again, the same with all the taps and everything else, you just want to see pink come out of here. So we've shown you the city water connection. We're almost done the winterizing. The first thing that we're going to do once we're inside again, after taking the screen out of your city water connection, is come back over to your indication panel here. We're going to turn your water pump off. This is going to stop it from pressurizing your system. We're going to open the water just a little bit to relieve some of the pressure. Now we're going to go back out to your city water connection. Follow me. So we're back at your city water connection now. We went inside. We've turned the pump off so it doesn't pressurize the system. We've relieved some of the pressure from the system by turning on the tap. And now we're going to press this check valve, and it could shoot at us still. Yep. So even with relieving the pressure, it still had quite a bit of pressure in there, so you might want to actually relieve a little bit more pressure than that. That's not bad. The valve isn't broken or anything, but you can see that it's pink. You can look at the side of the slide, it's pink. Now you just put the screen back in so you don't lose it, close it up. Now that check valve has antifreeze in it, so if there's a little bit of water sitting in there, it's not going to freeze and break or crack anything. You've ran antifreeze through the whole system, and you are pretty much done at this point. The only thing that we have to do is make sure, if you follow me, every one of our drains has a P-trap. And the way your P-trap works is there's a U at the bottom of your drain, and it's designed to hold liquid, in this case normally water, and what that will do is prevent sewer gases coming back up and basically coming into the RV. So what we have to do is make sure that there isn't any water in here. Now we have ran antifreeze into the sink, but we haven't really run that much, so there's a good chance that it hasn't pushed all the water out of the P-trap. So you want to make sure that you take any of your leftover antifreeze and you pour it down the drain. You would do that for each one of the drains. Specifically, the bathtub drain, I would make sure you pour a good amount down there, and I'm going to show you that in a second. First, we'll show you how to get rid of the leftover antifreeze in the line here. So what I do is I will pull the fill tube out so it's not in to the actual liquid inside the jug anymore. And then we're going to go back over to your indication panel, and we're going to turn on your water pump, and it's going to suck all of that antifreeze out of the fill tube. And if you have to, you can turn on one of your taps for a minute to help draw the rest of the antifreeze out of the fill line or the fill tube. So we have poured antifreeze down the drains of all the other sinks, the outdoor kitchen, the bathroom sink, the kitchen sink. So now we are here at your bathtub. The reason why we're focusing on the bathtub specifically is access. If you were to not put enough or not put adequate amounts of antifreeze into the drain of your bathtub, the amount of work and cost of fixing that mistake is probably going to be pretty large, as you do not have easy access. You're going to have to get into the underbelly, and there's a whole bunch of other things involved there. Whereas the kitchen sink, when we showed you that P-trap, that would be a pretty easy one to fix if you did make a mistake there. So all I'm going to show you is just make sure you put a good amount down there. Don't be shy. That way you know that you've pushed all the water out. And in this case, you can actually see that the water sitting in the trap or in the bottom of the drain is pink. It's not water at all, it's the antifreeze. The battery for your RV, it's never a good idea to leave it hooked up when it's going to be sitting for a long period of time, regardless of whether it's wintertime or summer. There are always things inside the RV that will draw some power, especially the newer units. There's a lot of the USB ports, for instance, draw a little bit of power. There's just a lot of little things that will constantly put a draw on the battery. So even in the summer, it's a good thing to remove them. But when winterizing, I would recommend always removing the battery fully. And myself, I always store my batteries inside in my garage. Let's take a minute to talk about battery disconnects. Not every RV will have one, and they're not specifically connected to winterization, other than the questions that come with battery storage when you winterize. I recommend, even with the battery disconnect, taking this off the RV. Now, we did mention it before, but I just thought we'd show you what it looks like in case you've never seen it. That we have this disconnect here in the moment. This is actually in the off position. And to turn the battery power on, we would have to have it like that. So now this does stop the most things from putting a draw on your battery. It doesn't stop everything. So we do still recommend that you fully remove the battery from the RV when storing for the winter. I just thought I would take a minute to show you what the disconnect looks like and talk about it a little bit more. We've ran you through everything you need to know about winterizing your RV. We just need to show you a couple of different options you might have as far as some of the equipment you're going to use. I had mentioned earlier that you will have these quick connect ports. So we have one here. We have this hose, the quick connect end. That's locked in there now. So no different as far as doing the rest of it. You've got the antifreeze jug hooked up to your water pump. It's pressurized, and then all we do is open the taps and squeeze the hose to remove the antifreeze from the quick connect here. Some other aspects that are a little bit different are the city water connection. I showed you earlier that you have to remove this and perform the dewinterization of the check water valve that's inside here. It's the same process. You still have to go in, turn the pump off, and relieve the pressure from the system. I just wanted to make you aware that it's a little different in that there's a diverter valve here, and you have to make sure that you have the diverter valve set up to be in a city water connection position such as it is there. The other position you would use to fill your freshwater tank. So to winterize, we need it to be in the city water connection position in order to remove the water from the check valve in your city water connection. So the last thing that we're going to talk about in this docking station here is your tank flush. So this is the flush for your blackwater tank. I know we've had questions in the past whether you need to do anything to winterize this, and the answer to that question is no. They're self-draining, so you don't have to run antifreeze through the black tank flush mechanism. We've showed you how to fully winterize your RV. We've shown you an alternate docking station that we have on some of the travel trailers. We just wanted to take a minute and show you the docking station that you might see on one of the fifth wheels. It's pretty straightforward. There is really good diagrams that tell you what everything does, but it can still be a little overwhelming when you look at everything. So we're just going to take a minute just to talk about it. First, I'm just going to point out some of the things that we have here, and then we'll go from there. So you'll notice right here we have some switching. This is actually switching for the onboard water pump. So you don't have to go inside the unit and run back out and do everything, go back and forth like that. Everything is contained right here. You can switch the water pump on. The other thing that you can do is the bypass for the hot water tank. With these docking stations, it eliminates the need for you to go crawling around your RV looking for the access point to the inside portion of the water heater. It does the bypass right here. And also, before we went and found the water pump itself, we don't have to do that anymore here. We can switch it from here, but we can also change the functioning of the system, whether it's drawing from the fill tube or drawing from the freshwater tank. We can do that all right here. So everything you need should be right here. So we talked about the bypass. With it in this mode, it's going to be the normal mode, or water passing through your hot water tank. If you put it into bypass mode, vertical like this is in your bypass. This means that when we winterize, we're not going to be putting antifreeze through your hot water tank. So we need it in bypass mode. Now there's a bunch of other stuff here. So on a previous RV, we talked about your tank flush. That's what this is. We already know, I've already mentioned that it's self-draining, so we don't need to worry about that as far as winterizing goes. What we're going to concern ourselves with are basically these two diverter valves and these two inlets. So in order to set this to winterize and draw from a fill tube, which I have here, we're going to set it to bypass, which we've done. And if you look on this inlet, right above it, it says sanitize and winterize. So after we screw this in here, I'm probably going to do a Coles Notes version and not really tighten it. So we have this in here. to the winterize and sanitize inlet. We're going to take our jug of antifreeze, we're going to take this fill tube and put it in the antifreeze just like we did before. Before we switch the pump on or do anything, we're going to take a look at our diagram here. And this diagram is going to tell you what valve positions these need to be in order to do each individual task. So at the moment, we have this set up as a city water connection. However, if you look at the diagram, we also have this set up in a winterized position. And sometimes this can be confusing to people. I think because you assume that if you're utilizing it as city water connection, you should have to change it to use it for the to winterize. The difference or what you change isn't the valve positions; it's just the inlet that you use. If you wanted this valve position to function as a city water connection, then you would have to place the garden hose or whatever into the city water connection, and then it would utilize it as a city water connection. So because we're using this winterize input and we have the valve positions as such, this is going to winterize and draw from your antifreeze jug. So now that we've talked about that, the other thing that I'll just mention since we're here talking about it, and it doesn't really have a lot to do with winterizing, but just kind of a handy information, is this has the ability to sanitize your freshwater tank. So if you turn this diverter valve to this position, and again, have this fill tube in here, and have it like this, once this fill tube is in your bucket of cleaner, so you can get actually specific cleaner for your freshwater tank, you can then turn on the water pump and it'll siphon from that jug and fill your freshwater tank with the sanitizer. Now that's interesting for a couple of reasons. One, you can clean it, but two, if you're in a position where you don't have a way to fill your freshwater tank, you can actually fill it with water in this same way. Use the fill tube, use a jug of water, a bucket, a 5-gallon pail. You can draw water from the pail and fill your freshwater tank with this when you don't have a garden hose to attach it and do it any other way. So it's just kind of a handy little bit of information I thought I would pass on. Not really winterizing specific, but a lot of people don't realize that. So now that we have these two valves in this position, and we've determined that we're not utilizing the city water connection, but we want to winterize, so we need to use this inlet with this valve position. Now that we've got the fill tube into your jug of antifreeze, you have to use your imagination. Now it's time to turn on the water pump, and same as before, it'll take a minute for the system to pressurize, but then it should stop, the pump should stop working, and you should then at that point be able to go around just like before, open all your taps, make sure the water runs pink or the antifreeze comes out basically, and do that in all of your sinks, open your low point drains and do all of that stuff. And again, when we talked previously about your gray and black water outputs, I would just like to mention that all of the controls for that are here. It's a good time to check the functioning of all the valves to make sure the seals are still good. So when they're fully closed, is there anything leaking through or anything like that? Because now would be the time that you'd maybe want to address a faulty valve or anything like that. So just take a second to inspect your valves in your gray and black water tanks before you put it away for the winter.